Thank you, Danny. It's good to see you all again. I hope everyone is, Baruch Hashem, is doing as well as he or she can. And hopefully, Bezrat Hashem, will have Bsorot Tovot. And we are having a Seder Wednesday night. It's going to be there, and we're going to celebrate it the way we are. It might be by ourselves. It might be with just a spouse. It might be with a little bit of a larger family. It's definitely going to be a Manishtana. We're not going to be too surprised with the song of Manishtana. But what I would like to do today, not for too long, really for, probably 35, 40 minutes, to talk a little bit about the Haggadah, to talk about it in a, not Vortalach. I'm not going to give Vortalach, I'm not a rabbi yet, but I'm going to try to expand on a few topics. And I think hopefully really the idea is that you will be able, A, to share, and B, to expand on it by yourselves during your Seders. Really, this is the goal of tonight. So I would like to suggest that we're going to talk about not 4 questions, but rather 7 questions that I'm going to raise. I'm going to suggest to you few options, and then you will, idach zil gmor, you will go ahead, Bezrat Hashem, and add your own interpretations and also some homework so you can open up different Haggadot and see how and what you can find to address those issues. So the first question that I would like to ask is the following. The Torah in Shmot, in Perek Yud Gimel, Pasuk Chet, says, V'higadeta lebincha bayom hahu, and you shall tell your children on that day. And we know that Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, that the story of Exodus, of Yetziat Mitzrayim, is really a mitzvah mideoraita. It's really a biblical mitzvah, one of the only ones really that we have nowadays. And the question that I would like to ask is very simple. How come we don't have a bracha before we recite the Haggadah? I think it's a well-known question, and I would like to offer you a few answers. But again, the question is, how come we do not have a bracha, a blessing, before we recite the Haggadah? We should say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lesaper b'sipur yetziat Mitzrayim.
Come here?
No,
it
doesn't have a shiur.
How come we don't have a bracha like that?
It doesn't have a shiur, right?
It
didn't work.
It doesn't have a measurement of how, when you've...
Okay, so now I would like to offer you few answers. The first answer is that because the Haggadah relates to Yetziat Mitzrayim, to Exodus, basically when we recite Kiddush and we say Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim, so the Kiddush is really the beginning of the Sipur. Meaning the Kiddush on Yom Tov Shel Pesach has some kind of a dual purpose. One is the Kiddush like any other Yom Tov, to sanctify the day, to make it from the mundane to the Yom Tov. So that's one option, which is really, I think, in my opinion, the simplest option, which is you start with Kiddush, and Kiddush is not only just to sanctify the day from mundane to a holy day, but rather it's also the beginning of Yetziat Mitzrayim. By the way, just a proof for that is that the first kos that we drink on Leila Seder is what? Is kos Kiddush. Is the kos of the Kiddush, which means the kos of the Kiddush and the Kiddush itself is the beginning of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, and therefore we basically already said the bracha. Okay, so that's more of a technical halachic answer to address the question. However, I would like to suggest 3 more options, which I think has something to do more with the content and the idea. The second answer is that really there is really more than one, but there is one main mitzvah that we know that every time we do a mitzvah, we say the bracha before, over le'asiyatan. We say the bracha and then we do the action, we perform the mitzvah. There is at least one that he will perform the mitzvah and he or she will say the bracha only after. Which mitzvah is that? Just raise your hand and unmute. Rabbi Yona and Mary. I can't hear you.
Mikvah.
Mikveh, very good. So Rabbi
Friday
Yonah,
night.
The what?
Hadlakat Nerot Friday night.
Hadlakat Nerot Friday night, but there is a little bit of an external issue. But with the mikveh, especially with Geirim, with converts, what do? They go first to the mikveh, they immerse themselves in the mikveh, and only after that they say the bracha of Tvilat Geirim, which is very interesting. How come? It should be over le'asiyatan. The problem is that because until they immerse themselves in the mikveh, they can't recite the bracha. So therefore, we wait. Based on this idea, I would like to suggest that perhaps that's why we don't have a bracha before Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. Before the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, we are like converts. We are about to convert. We are about to immerse ourselves in the story, in the background, in the history, in the destiny of the Jewish people. We are not worthy enough yet to say the bracha. We are not there yet. Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, the entire Leil Seder, is a journey, זה מסע. And only at the end, we say Shir Chadash al Geulatenu v'al Pdut Nafshenu. And then it's too late to say a bracha. We already in a way say it, Ga'al Yisrael, at the end of the Seder. But really, before the Seder starts, we can't recite the bracha because we are only on the way to the mikveh. We are not there yet. We didn't immerse ourselves. And therefore, there is no bracha. So based on this idea, we should view the entire Leil Seder as, in a way, a process of conversion. And I'm not talking about now the Rabbanut, not the Rabbanut, just a process of conversion of a Jew. Which means that, by the way, we also have all the components of conversion of Gerut. What do we have? We have the mikveh, so to speak, the story about Talmud Torah. We have the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, which we will talk about it in a minute. The males need to be circumcised. They need to have Brit Milah, that I spoke about it in Shabbat HaGadol Drasha. And we bring Korban Pesach, the Korban Ager. So we have all components of Gerut, of conversion, and therefore we don't have a bracha before. So that's one idea. Then there is perhaps another idea, which is the following. Rav Soloveitchik talks a lot about the fact that Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim is not just a story of Exodus. As we know, the Haggadah does not really quote from Sefer Shmot, from the book of Exodus. We will talk about it a little bit later. But what is interesting is that the entire story is really from the Midrashim. It's from our sages. It's more for Torah Shebe'al Peh. Rav Soloveitchik suggested that the story of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim during Leil Seder is really Limud Torah, is Torah learning. It's not really the Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim to remember Exodus like we need to remember every day, but rather when it comes to Leil Seder, there is a component of Limud Torah, of learning Torah. Based on what Rav Soloveitchik said, I would like to expand it and to maybe address the question we asked. We asked why not to say a bracha. My answer is, we already said it. When? In the morning. In the morning we said Birkot HaTorah, the blessings for the Torah. והערב נא הבוחר במו לעסוק בדברי תורה. We already recited the brachot before learning Torah, and therefore, what do we do during Leil Seder? We just continue on with our learning. So there is no need for a special bracha. The only thing is that our Torah learning is what? Is Besipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's, by the way, just as a side note, can explain the story that we have in the Haggadah that says that Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer, they all were sitting in Bnei Brak and they were talking about Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. You think to yourself, first and foremost, don't have any ideas. No Bnei Brak this year, and not more than 5 people, obviously. We're not going to have a gathering of rabbis in Bnei Brak, even in Bnei Brak. Okay, we're not going to have it. But we're still going to mention it in the Haggadah. And the idea is that what they did was to learn Torah. And now we can understand. The students came to them and says what? Igi Zman Kriyat Shema Shel Shachrit. You have a biblical obligation to stop learning and to recite the Shema. So now we can put it all together and basically answer our question. Why isn't there a bracha before we recite the Agadah? Answer. So we had the technical answer, which is what? Which is basically we already saying that in Kiddush. So that was more the technical one. The second one was a process of Geirut. And the third one that I suggested based on Rav Soloveitchik is what is the idea of Torah learning rather than a special mitzvah of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. Okay? So this is to address this question. Any questions about those thoughts? Okay, so I'm just checking the chat to see if someone asked a question. No. Okay. Yes.
I have one question.
Anthony, please.
Yes. On the second reason, if it's like Gerut, shouldn't there be a bracha at the end?
Very good. And the bracha that we say at the end is Asher ge'alanu ve'ga'al et avoteinu, at the end. So, and really, by the way, Anthony, it's a good question because it will help me to clarify one more thing. When you look at the Gemarot, when they talk about the process of conversion, unfortunately, because we became so particular about mitzvot, we forget that the Gemara also talks about the idea of Jewish destiny and Jewish history and Jewish dreams. And when we talk about Asher ge'alanu ve'ga'al et avoteinu, כך הוא יביאנו להקריב פסחים ומן הזבחים, we put both of them together. We put the history and we also put the destiny. So we know where we came from, we know our history, and we know where we are aiming to get to. So you see that really the bracha at the end is in a way, the ultimate conclusion of the process of conversion. Very good. Okay, so now we will go to the second topic. Now, when we talk about Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, which is, as I said before, a biblical commandment, I would like to know how do we perform it? How do we perform it? What's the best way to perform it? So, interestingly enough, the Gemara in Psachim, in Daf Kuftet Zayin, in the Mishnah, and later on immediately in the Gemara that brings the Braita, talks about the idea of what? Of really that we have two components to the story of how to say the story, how to tell the story. One is Vehigadeta lebincha. You shall tell the story. Vehigadeta, not Vesiparta, Vehigadeta. That's one component. The second component is what the Mishnah says and the Braita says. Mozgim lo kos rishon, and then מוזגים לו כוס שני, וכאן הבן שואל, מה נשתנה הלילה הזה מכל הלילות? Okay. And then the Gemara says, אם אין לו בן, אשתו שואלתו. אם אין לו אישה, הוא שואל את עצמו. ואפילו שני תלמידי חכמים שואלים זה לזה או זה את זה. תלוי. Okay. So basically the Gemara says what? That the nature of the story should be with what? Questions and answers. כאן הבן שואל, וכאן האב עונה. And even someone who doesn't know how to ask, את, פתח לו. You should open it for him. You should try to what? To entice him or her to speak up, to ask the question. So before I go into the full understanding of why is it that the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim should be with questions and answers, I would like to share with you a very interesting opinion of Rabbeinu Asher, of the Rosh. The Rosh, who lived in the 13th, 14th century, he was a Talmid of the Maharami Rothenburg from the 13th century in Germany. And the Rosh was able to escape Germany. And he was really one of the only poskim that had a tradition from the Ashkenazic world and the Sephardi world. And the Rosh obviously wrote Perushim and Shut and Shelot V'Tshuvot and many other things. But he said, the Rosh says in Tshuvot, in Klal Kavdaled, if I'm not mistaken, Ot Gimel or something like that, Kavdaled, maybe Ot Bet, he said the following. He said something amazing, that by the way was rejected from the halacha, but I want to focus on what he said. He said, if someone does not have a child to ask him questions, or he have no one to ask questions, he shouldn't say the story of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, or it's definitely not from the Torah anymore, and perhaps it's not even from Chachamim, it's not even from the Rabbanan. Now, everyone jumped on him, because obviously it's against what the Gemara says. The Gemara says that what? That you can still fulfill your obligation by even asking yourself or talking to yourself. So how come that the Rosh said what he said? So there are many reasons why he said it, but I just want to say perhaps the following. What we view in our religion, I think, one of the most important things is that we encourage questions. And if we live our religious life without asking ourselves questions, and without being asked questions by our family members, by our friends, I'm sorry to disappoint you all, but we are doing something wrong. I know it sounds like counterintuitive, but I think that's the true Judaism. True Yahadut is to ask questions. It's also to be mature enough to be able to know that we will not find answers. That's also part of Yahadut. But not to ask even once a question, something is wrong. It's like, you know, what the Gemara says, Talmid Chacham shekulam ohavim oto, a Talmid Chacham that everyone loves him, he probably doesn't do anything. Okay? It cannot be that everything we do makes sense. That everything we do, we have no questions. That everything that happens to us, we have no questions. I don't know what's the answer. Some people like to give answers and they know it all. I'm not like that. Not because I'm so humble, just because I'm not that smart. Okay? I just don't have answers for everything. But I will say I do have many questions. And the questions, I think, pushes us to what? To think, to really be innovative, to be creative, to challenge and not to be afraid, to be in a way more comfortable with who we are. And therefore, maybe the Rosh says the following. If you don't have anyone to ask you a question, if you cannot bring yourself to ask a question, you know what? Don't tell the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. It's meaningless. What are you going to say? To repeat something in the narrative? I don't need you for that. What I need you, says the Rosh, is to take this ancient text and to rejuvenate it. Maybe to some extent, like what the Rambam says, Chayav Adam le'arot et atzmo, not lirot et atzmo, not to see himself, but to show himself. You need to get out there. You need to put yourself out there and you're going to be challenged. That's okay. You know what? There is no shame in saying, I don't know. Not only there is no shame, the Mishnah says, one of the Shiv'at Dvarim Bechacham, Al ma shelo yodea, Omer lo yodea. One of the 7 signs of a smart person is that if it doesn't know, he says, I don't know, instead of giving you an answer that no one understands. So the idea of the Rosh is what? The story must be she'ela v'tshuva. It must be a question and an answer. But now I would like to expand on it and even take it further. You know, there is a huge difference between a teacher and a preacher. A preacher is someone who has the knowledge and it's very formal. I'm the preacher, you are the crowd, I am telling you. I have the knowledge, I am the source of knowledge, and I'm telling you how to do, what to do. It's not a discussion. You look at me with awe, with reverence, and I tell you what to do. The teacher is totally different from the preacher. First and foremost, the teacher says what? Mikol melamdai hiskalti, umitalmidai yoter mikulam. From everyone I learned, but for my student, I learned the most. Now, what does that mean? Obviously, or יותר נכון, hopefully, the teacher has more knowledge than his students. It's not always the case, by the way. But hopefully, the teacher has more knowledge. But the teacher, a true teacher, a good teacher knows that he can learn from others and he wants to be challenged. He wants to know that the students not only understood what he said, but they're going to challenge him. We know the story of Rabbi Yochanan and Resh Lakish, that when Resh Lakish died, people came to comfort Rabbi Yochanan, and everything that Rabbi Yochanan said, they said, yes, it's true. And Rabbi Yochanan started crying. And he says, I miss Resh Lakish, because everything I said something, he will question it. He will challenge me. He will make it difficult for me. I don't need yes men's. What do we have? 90 participants. I don't need you to nod your head and say, wow, he's right. I want you to challenge me. That's why I mute you. I don't want to listen to you. I'm joking. The thing is, I will unmute you, and if you have questions, please ask. Because not only that I want to be challenged, I think this is the only way, really, our Talmud was formed. The Gemara is formed with questions such as Pshita. Like, what's the Chiddush? Tell me something new that I didn't know. Ureminhu. How can you say that? There is another source that contradicts what you said. Or Kashya, Tiyuvta. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. Explain to me, what are you saying? Which means what? Which means our Yahadut is based on questions. And by the way, even a question from a Rasha, a question from the wicked son. The question from the wicked son can challenge us, can make us really upset. But you know what? He's asking a question to some extent. He might be even better than what? Than she'eino yodea lish'ol. The guy who has no question, he sees everything is going on. He sees all the halachot and every minagim that we do on Pesach, and he sits there like a golem and he has nothing to say. He is the most apathetic person on earth. I can tell you, if I was not Jewish and I would go to a Seder, I will look at you in a very different way. You will all look strange to me. I will have a million of questions. The thing is that the difference between a preacher and a teacher is that the teacher, and that's what we need to do on Leila Seder, is to encourage questions and answers. We know, for example, the Rambam, where is the Rambam? Yeah, the Rambam in Ilchot Avodah Zarah, in his introduction to the laws of idol worshipping. He talks about Avram Avinu, and he talks about the journey that Avram took in order to get where he got. And he says that Avram was wandering in his mind, and he was looking, and he was thinking, and he got zero answers, by the way. The Rambam describes that Avram was wandering since he was 3 years old, or maybe 40 years old. The first time that Hashem revealed himself to Avram was in what age? You can do with your hands. What age was it that Hashem revealed himself to Avraham? Dr. Benowitz, 70 you said? 70 or 75, what did he say? 75, okay, 70 or 75, which means for at least 30 years, Avraham was wondering, asking, questioning, and zero answers. And it's interesting. I would like to share with you that when Avimelech and Avraham spoke, Avraham says to Avimelech, Elokim asher it'u oti mi beit avi. What is it'u? Hey, taf, ayin, vav, from the word?
Ta'ut.
The what?
Ta'ut.
Ta'ut, that's more with the tet, like a mistake, but I think it's tehiyah. What is tehiyah? To wonder.
Wondering.
To wonder. God, in a way, schlepped me wandering around. And this is the yesodot. These are the principles of Yahadut. Don't be afraid of questions. You know what? Especially on this Leila Seder, we're all going to ask ourselves a question. Ma Hashem rotze meitanu? What does Hashem want from us? What is the message? And I don't know, many people can come up with different messages. We can contradict those messages, but we need to ask the question in order to shake ourselves, in order to really push us and encourage us to really ask the questions. I think, just 1 second, I have someone who is asking on the chat, what happens if you encourage questions and cannot provide answers? Doesn't that defeat the purpose? So the question was, if you encourage questions and you don't have answers, so isn't that defeat the purpose? And the answer, to my opinion, is no. There is a purpose of a question. Later on, you discuss an answer. And maybe if you don't find an answer today, you will find it what? Tomorrow. There is Veigadet lebincha bayom hahu, on that day, and there is also Ki yishalcha bincha machar. There is also tomorrow, not second Seder. I'm not talking about a second Seder. I'm talking about one Seder. But there is nothing wrong in telling to your child, you know what? Great question. I didn't think about it. You know, when you Zoom with your families before Seder, you know, get questions and don't answer them. Let them think about something. You should think about something. So make it challenging. Make it a teacher and not a preacher. So this is really the second idea of she'elot v'tshuvot, of questions and answers. And we shouldn't just, you know, read the Agada and, you know, okay, let's get to the Shulchan Orech. Shulchan Aruch is very important, but this is not the most important thing, okay? The most important thing is really Veigadet lebincha, Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, Achilat Matzah. So we need to do that and focus on the she'elot v'tshuvot, on the questions and answers that we have. Okay. Now, in order to even further cement really the idea, I would like to talk about the third question. The third question is a very known question, but I think it fits into our entire idea of tonight, which is what? The main focus of the Haggadah, it's interesting, it's not to read the narrative from Sefer Shmot. Bichlal lo. We barely mention the book of Exodus. The main biblical part is what? Is Arami Oved Avi, which is Mikra Bikurim. It's Parashat Ki Tavo, Sefer Dvarim, Deuteronomy, not Shmot. So why is it? So one opinion, which is a very interesting one, I don't really have the time now to talk about it at length, and I'm not a historian, but some people say that the fathers of the church would use Exodus at Easter time. So we obviously wanted to do something different. But let's leave alone for a second the historical questions or the historical background. I would like to suggest the following. When you look at Sefer Dvarim, the book of Deuteronomy, it's obviously very different than any other books. What is the major difference between Sefer Dvarim and the other Sfarim? Raise your hand if you want to say it. No one? Phil, you need to unmute.
There you go, you're on now.
Yes, Phil.
Moshe Rabbeinu, a story in forum.
The what? Moshe Rabbeinu what?
Story of Moshe Rabbeinu.
Oh, okay. So the language there is definitely more personal. And it seems to be that Moshe Rabbeinu is the one to talk, and God gave his gushpanka, gave his signature, his kashrut signature on it. You can look at the Natziv, at Rab Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin in his commentary on Dvarim, and many others who talk about the idea that Sefer Dvarim, in a way, is Torah shebe'al peh, is the oral Torah that is connected to Torah shebichtav. Now, if that's true, there is something very interesting. First, let's talk about the biblical narrative itself. The biblical narrative talks about what? That we are bringing the first fruits, and the Bikurim has basically two components to it. One is Vidui Bikurim, which we recite the history, which also with the Maaser, and later on, we also bring the fruits, obviously. And in that recitation of the history, we start with Arami Oved Avi, with Yaakov and Lavan, and to the end of what? That God brought us to this land and we are bringing these new fruits. Now, this is something very interesting. We are basically talking about the journey of the Jewish people from Yaakov to where we are today. But we are still not there. We tell Hashem that Al Adama Asher Natata Lanu Hashem, and Bezrat Hashem, we will celebrate it fully. So I would like to suggest two ideas of why we chose that narrative. I think to show that we are talking again about this journey The Jews are always on a journey. Lech lecha. I see many people here who come to my Monday night classes at Shul, and we spoke about it once that, Yahadut is really about the journey. We're not sure, about the finish line. The finish line can be whatever it be, the journey. This is really the most important thing. That's why really the Torah and the Gemara does not really talk so much about the finish line. That's one. B, we use Torah shebe'al peh, not Torah shebichtav. Torah shebe'al peh is what really kept us alive. Us as a nation and us as a Torah. Can you imagine your life without Torah shebe'al peh? So some people can smile and say, for sure. I don't think so. We know there is a sect that try to handle themselves without Torah shebe'al peh. They are almost gone, the Karaim. They were very strong at the time of the Rambam, talking about the 12th century. Now we are the 21st century, we barely have Karaites. So the idea is Torah shebe'al peh, with all its issues and challenges and everything else, it's still really the secret of our survival. And that's what we do on Leil Seder. It also helps us in the questions and answers. Just imagine, just to read the narrative. No, Seder, so we read the narrative, and we can have a little bit of a discussion and we move on. But when you have all these de'ot, the multiplicity of opinions, just even about, how many makot, how many plagues were in Egypt, 10 on El Yam Suf, 10, 50, 200, 250, 3, all those things that you are darshaning the pasuk in different ways, you are like, come on, can't you do math? God says, Eser makot, why do you need to say 50, 500? Why? The idea is the discussion. It's to create this incredible conversation between the people around the table. That's what we were so good at, and we shouldn't lose sight of it. You know what? Perhaps even this year, it's even stronger. We can't rely on others to entice us to ask questions. There is no magician that comes to the table and tell us what to do. We need to do it by ourselves. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard because we all like, an external engines that, push us to ask. And this is maybe the beauty of what the Gemara in Psachim says in Daf Kuf Tet Zayin. Im lo hu shoel et atzmo. You should ask yourself those questions. We need to take ourselves into that journey with all its difficulty, and to ask ourselves these difficult questions. Despite the sadness and the loneliness and everything that we feel, we are connected to Torah shebe'al peh. We are connected to the source of life, to the Be'er Mayim Chaim. So that's really the third idea. Now, I see I have questions at the chat, so just 1 second. Okay, point the question, but I want to wonder about why are they grateful to Hashem for taking us from Israel when He's the one who got us into the situation in the first place? Okay, so someone asked me, why should we thank Him when He put us there? So first, He put us there as a result of His calculations, but it's part of the Brit of Bein HaBetarim. But we are grateful that He took us out, because if not, we will be there, our children will be there. He never said when, okay? He said that He will. So the fact that we are now redeemed, we need to be thankful because we were the chosen nation, the chosen generation to be out of Mitzrayim. Someone else asked me, how do we reconcile your point about asking questions with the Oraita principle of Naaseh v'Nishma? Okay, very good. So I will just say that this question I already answered in my class on Shavuot night last year. So for those who were there, and you are probably, everyone who was there remember, I assume that you remember. Please don't smile, don't embarrass me. So I answered that. For those who don't remember it because they were not there, not because they don't remember, Bezrat Hashem, I will do a redo, but I will just touch on it, and I will say both should be there. There is a component of obedience, and there is a component of questions. And we need to know how to integrate them. Not everything we will understand, not everything we understand that we think we understand, we fully understand, and something we will never understand. That's part of these relationships, these very delicate relationships between. Now, someone told me that the class I gave on Shavuot was not in English, and you are correct. Okay, so now let's go back to, thank you, our Australian friends. And that's the hint, that's it. Now let's go back to the fourth issue. The fourth issue is that I would like to discuss is also a very famous question. And this is the question of where is Moshe in the Haggadah? Moshe is gone. Moshe, our leader, our teacher, where is he? So obviously the first answer, the simple answer is, look, Moshe should not be mentioned, and you know why? Because Ani Hashem, Ani velo acher, Ani hu. This is all, the focus is all about Hashem. Okay, we understand. Mimela, the Jewish people always got it, all confused, Hashem, Moshe. So now we make it clear, it's all about Hashem. Okay, that's very simple. But I would like to suggest perhaps an additional reason. The idea is that the one who was with us from the beginning until the end was Hashem. Hashem told Yaakov, Al tira mereda mitzrayma, anochi ered imcha va'anochi a'alcha gam alo. Hashem told Yaakov, don't be afraid. I will go down with you to Mitzrayim, and I will, so to speak, go up with you. I will elevate you with me. Hashem was there with us from the beginning until the end. Moshe just joined, towards the end. Hashem was there from the beginning. And I think there is a tremendous message. Many people like to jump on the wagon when they see that the train is going to the right direction. Then they jump on the wagon and they want to sit in the front seat like they are the leaders. They were not. They didn't join us when it was hard, when it was tough, when we were not sure that it's going to be a successful journey. They have a right to be there, no question. They have a right even to be leaders. But at the time we celebrate the bitterness, the enslavement, and the freedom, only those who were there from the beginning until the end should celebrate and should be mentioned. I think one of the ideas is really tremendous, is the idea that even when times are tough, that's where we jump to help. That's when we show our sympathy. That's when we go there and basically help. Not when it's become a trendy thing. It's so nice to be kind, so then we will do it. No, we're going to reach out and we are going to want to initiate chesed and to be there for people even when it's hard or because it's hard. So you need to be part of it in order to celebrate it. And I think this is also what the Gemara said later on. Everyone who mourns on Yerushalayim, then he married to what? To celebrate when we're going to have the ultimate redemption. The idea is that in every generation, we need to mourn for Yerushalayim, even though it was not destroyed in your time. But you are part of a link of generations. We are part of one history. We need to be part of it. Don't jump only when it's good. Don't jump only when Mashiach comes. Don't ride on his donkey, okay? I don't know if he will have a space for you on his donkey. Maybe now, politically correct, I should say his donkey or her donkey. I don't know, whatever the Mashiach is. But the idea is that we don't wait when it's all rosy. Even when it's hard, jump and help. And that's the idea, that we focus on Hashem because he was there with us from the beginning until the end. Now, because I promise it's not going to be that long, I am going to skip on one or two things, and I'm just going to go to, I think, the fifth question that I would like to address. One of the concepts that we celebrate on Pesach is zrizut. That's one of the traits, zrizut. What is zrizut? Haste, chipazon, being quick. But Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner, in his book, Pachad Yitzchak, said something really profound. He said that the zrizut that we have, it's not only about time. We always think zrizim, like zrizim makdimim lemitzvot. Vayashkem Avraham baboker. Avram rose early in the morning, so he did the Akedah, or he did the Brit Milah, or zrizim makdimim lemitzvot. I'm going to be in shul, if tefillah is at 8:30, I'm going to be there at 8:15. He says this is one idea of zrizut, of being early. But it says zrizut, it's really related to nitzchiyut. Someone who is eternity. If someone is zariz, he or she really shows what? That they have no time to waste time. They are always want to be a minute before this minute comes. It's like a child that you tell him, I have a gift for you. That's your mistake. He's going to drive you crazy and will always wait for the minute that you give it to him, even though you promise it to him only tomorrow, okay? Meaning he wants to bring the minute that it's about to come, he wants to bring it now. You're with me? Meaning this result is the anxiety, not the anxiety, but to be so anxious that the minute that will come only a minute from now will come right now.
Anticipation.
And Moshe, anticipation, you said?
Yeah.
Thank you, anticipation. That's, I guess, the word I was looking for. Thank you, Moshe. So, anticipation. And the idea that Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner says is that on Pesach, when we show our zrizut, or belaz, zrizes, okay? To be zariz, it's not just to look at the watch and say, oh, wow, I need to finish before the Afikoiman. No. It's to try to associate ourselves with eternity. Zrizut is not in the realm of time, it's above time. To be zariz, it's to say, I don't live in the moment, I already see the minute ahead. I want to be above time, which is our connection to Hashem. Hashem is above time, u'me'al hazman, and therefore he can really integrate all dimensions of time. There are no dimensions of time with Hashem. There is avar, hoveh, ve'atid. Haya, hoveh, ve'hiyeh. He was, he is, and he will be. He is not influenced by time. And when we want to be zrizim on Pesach, and to reach this level of zrizut, basically we are saying what? We want to be above the time. We want to be timeless. We want to attach ourselves to eternity to the extent that we are not influenced by time. And this is, in a way, another major component in Yahadut. We live with all three dimensions of time. We are connected to the past, we live in the present, and we are already connected to the future. And why am I saying that? Because now I'm going to tie most of what I said together, hopefully. Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, the story of telling the Exodus, which is a Torah learning, according to Rav Soloveitchik. It also has the same characters of Torah learning, which is what? Which is, how do I fulfill my mitzvah of Limud Torah? Is by Veshinantam Levanecha, it's by teaching Torah to the next generation. Is by knowing that the future generation is going to have Torah learning and Torah tools to continue this Torah learning. Meaning, my mitzvah will not be fulfilled until the next generation is going to continue. So we are, and the generation before, their obligation was fulfilled when our generation fulfilled his duties. So now what do we have? We have the link and the connection between all three generations. And with that, we understand why we are zrizim. Why do we want to attach ourselves to eternity? Because eternity means nitzchiyut. It's forever. There is no past, there is no present, there is no future. Oh, I should say, all three of them are there. There is past, there is present, and future in eternity. Eternity, Netzach, has everything. And therefore, that's what we try to do on Leila Seder. So I just want to conclude with some maybe special things for this year Leila Seder, which will be a little bit different. And maybe just to, besides everything I spoke about before, but just maybe to highlight 2 or 3 points. First, I know it's hard to see the blessings. We all used to celebrate Pesach in a totally different way. And this year we are going to celebrate it the way we are. Ma lasot. Maybe we need to focus a bit on Dayenu, on the song of Dayenu. You know, in Dayenu, every stage, what do we say? Dai Dayenu. That was enough. And we thank God for this stage in life. We always want more, but we are grateful and we are thankful and we are fulfilled even with that stage. So I think we need to appreciate what we have. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. To count our blessings. Baruch Hashem, we have a roof, we have a home, we have a Seder. Baruch Hashem, we don't need to be, in hiding. Baruch Hashem, we have it. We have what we have, and Baruch Hashem for that. So maybe that's one idea to enhance our gratefulness. So that's one. The second thing is that, as I mentioned before, many times in Leila Seder, we count on others to entice our appetite in terms of asking questions and to think and to prepare for the Seder. This year, ze anachnu. We can't look outside, we need to look inside. We need to look for answers and questions within us, which can be what we call in Hebrew, Erua Mechonen, a founding event. It's something that can really change ourselves to some extent. It's really something that, there is no a child or someone come from the yeshiva to ask me the question. It's me. And I need to deal with it. So to look inside, להסתכל בפנים, and to try to find the koach, the strength, the inner strength to address our questions and to be able to be mature enough not to have all the answers. So that's the second idea. The third idea is that when we raise the cup and we say Vehi she'amda, what is this he? She. So there are many interpretations. Some people say the glass of wine, some people say the Torah, some people say the emunah, some people say the wife, whatever it is. But the idea is, in my opinion, is, thank you, formative event. Thank you very much, Pnina. The idea is that I think Vehi she'amda, we need to think about all the other generations that were before us, and they celebrate Pesach. And they had a tremendous emunah. I mean, I don't want to single out people, but David, who was our leader when we took the shul to a mission in Poland, told us all sorts of stories. And when you read about Leila Seder in a ghetto or in a Machaneh Hashmada, in a concentration camp, you look at that and you say, Vehi she'amda. This is the emunah that we had, that we have, and that we will have. I know some people say, how can you be a believer? And some people say, how can you live your life without emunah? Whatever it is. We have emunah. We are ma'aminim, bnei ma'aminim. And we have emunah that Bezrat Hashem will have better days. And we have emunah that those days will come, Bezrat Hashem. And She'amda will continue on to stand for us for generations to come. And the fourth thing that I would like to say is that we conclude the Seder by saying Shir Chadash al Geulateinu val Pdut Nafsheinu. The difference between Shira Chadasha, that we sang this song, and Shir Chadash. Shir is something that will have basically nothing after that. We will get to the ultimate redemption. And this ultimate redemption will be al Geulateinu, for our redemption, val Pdut Nafsheinu. Not only the physical aspect, but also what? The spiritual aspect, Pdut Nafsheinu. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope and pray that that you will have more to think about during the Seder, and that you will have something to discuss. And also that Bezrat Hashem, when we will conclude the Seder, we will hear this knock on the door, and it will not be just Eliyahu, but real Eliyahu, that's going to say, Yedidim, Egia Zman Geulatchem. My friends, it's time for redemption. It's time to get out from this narrow place that we have and to go out for freedom, Geulatenu v'Geulat Nafshenu. And we should have Bezrat Hashem, Pesach Kasher, Bari, and Sameach, a healthy and a happy Pesach for all of you, for all your families. And Bezrat Hashem, next year, we will all be in Shul. You know what? Why in Shul? In Beit HaMikdash. Why are we thinking small? We should think big, Bezrat Hashem. We should be in Beit HaMikdash. I'm sure in the Beit HaMikdash we will have a little Shul. It will be called Nitzanim. So we will have our thing. But Bezrat Hashem, we will all celebrate. V'nochal sham min hazvachim u'min hapsachim. We will eat from the Korban Pesach, Bezrat Hashem, together as a community, as an Am, and should have really Bezrat Hashem, rak besorot tovot. Goodbye, everyone.